What happens when a blizzard strips away the facades we hide behind, leaving us trapped with nothing but our secrets, our sins, and the whispers in the snow? Today's guest is Rebecca Rowland, an award-nominated horror author and editor whose work has been described as quiet, literary art house horror that examines the uglier aspects of human nature. Her new novel, Eminence Front, releasing January 20th from Clash Books, follows the residents of a single New England street as an ancient entity preys on their regrets during a brutal winter storm. In this conversation, we explore the psychology of snow, suburban pretense, betrayal trauma, and why she believes there are no true villains, just flawed people making terrible choices. This is the Dark Mind Podcast. If you enjoy the show, please support it by subscribing to my YouTube channel. Your support helps keep the dark conversation alive. So without further ado, I give you Rebecca Rowland. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, I guess I should say welcome back to the show.
Yes, it's been a year, maybe year and a half, I think.
I don't know. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me on this 21st day of December 2025.
Yeah, the winter solstice. So it's it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Yes, indeed. All the fellow pagans. Well, I'd had your new novel Eminence Front in my queue for quite a while, and as the release date approached, I found myself really looking forward to it, not only because it was your work, but also because it was the first novel of yours that I'd read. And in true quiet horror art house fashion, the story unfolds as slow creeping dread, punctuated by violence, some overt, some implied, and a sordid exploration of the human condition with all the messy, complicated things that happen when emotion collides with instinct. So, needless to say, I really enjoyed it, so thank you for taking the time to come on the show to discuss it.
No, I mean, thank you for having me back. And also, I need you to be the person to start writing my book summaries, because that was awesome. I'm like, that's a book I want to read. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of which, for those that haven't read the book, because it doesn't come out until when? January
20th. So just
20th.
under a month from
Okay.
now. Yeah.
For those that have not read an arc, just a brief synopsis. Set in a small New England neighborhood over the course of a brutal snowstorm, Eminence Front follows the residents of a single street as a seemingly ordinary winter storm reveals something far more sinister buried in the snow. As the drifts rise and the temperature drops, an ancient, malevolent presence begins whispering to the townspeople, preying on their secrets, sins, and regrets. And that is where the story takes off. So, in the novel, the threat arrives as an entity moving through a snowstorm. What did snow let you do psychologically that another setting or element like heat, rain, darkness wouldn't have given you?
Yeah. It's funny because I think I having grown up here in Massachusetts and really living in Massachusetts and New England my entire life, I've seen more than my share of snow, and specifically blizzards and ice storms. And it's terrifying to see, wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes. Those terrify me when I see them on the news. Here, even having lived decades through these snowstorms, I still find myself getting very anxious when there's very heavy snow, when there's squalls. There's something about it's this sense of, especially when we get multiple feet of snow very quickly, it's a sense of almost being smothered or buried alive, and with a lack of, it's sort of, you can't really walk quickly through it. When your feet are sort of buried, there's so many elements of nightmares, I think, in snowstorms, that it was very easy to use a blizzard just to sort of set the scene. And I wanted to have an entity that could come and go, and then would sort of disappear or become dormant for a while. And that's what it sort of feels like here in the winter, where we will be pummeled with snow for, 2 days in a row. And then 2 days later, we'll all of a sudden get a temperature above 32 Fahrenheit and things start to melt, or we get a rainstorm and then the snow is gone. And it's as if it was never there. And then it, sort of the cycle continues. And so there are a lot of things I got to play with, I think, with using snow. Also, on a side note and a personal note, I am a terrible driver. I'm a terrible walker. I have very little grace on dry pavement. Never mind if you throw in anything in any way slippery or um, so snow for me, I dread it. I dread it. And so I made it sort of the vehicle of dread.
Yeah, it's funny. It's such a, I don't know if ethereal's the word, such a very a delicate little, it's nothing in your hands, but piles of it can really make your life a living hell. Like the only time I really experienced snow, like deep walking up to your knees in snow, was when I went to go visit my grandparents in Canada during the winter. My mom's Canadian. She just
Yeah.
wanted us to experience a Canadian winter one time. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah. You're
intense.
like, yeah, I never. You're like, Canada seems like a nice place, except in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was young back then, so I don't think it really registered. Like if cause they didn't even live in civilization. She grew up on a farm. So this is the middle of nowhere, nothing but grain fields. So, it's like, man, thinking back to that, if I had slipped and broken my ankle, it would have been a rough 4 days, I'm sure.
Right. Right. And I can remember being little, like especially when you're little and you're in a snowstorm, because sometimes the snow can be taller than you, and it really is that feeling of being, surrounded and smothered. And yeah, so you're very lucky. I know we live on opposite ends of the country, opposite ends of the temperature grid, right, for the most part. And I've been in your neck of the woods during the summertime, and it feels like walking on the sun. It's so hot where you are, but I think I would take that
Now,
over the
are
New
you
England weather.
referring to like San Antonio or Dallas?
So I've been in Austin every August for the most part, and it's not extremely humid, but it's like this intense burning heat, and I guess you must get used to it. Um,
No, I hate it.
oh,
I was born and raised here. I cannot stand it. And in Houston, we're in the armpit of the Gulf of Mexico, so the humidity just it's like a tractor beam aimed at us. So I
uh,
don't know. I always tell people I think I know what it's like to be waterboarded.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I can imagine it's probably, I've been in Georgia and Florida during like the very hot summer months. And It's like walking in soup. Is the air thick? Is it that
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
like just
feeling? Yeah.
it's like being in a sauna,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a steam room or a sauna. Just
Yeah.
like those feel good because when you walk out of them, you're like all opened up. You don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
stay in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess it would be lovely to have a happy medium, but I don't think I
San
know of
Diego,
any. Oh, yeah. Oh, so pretty there.
location,
Yeah.
location, location.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned him already. Kind of piggybacking off your mention of John. John is agoraphobic, so he's already living in a self-imposed prison before the storm even begins. Does his pre-existing isolation make him more vulnerable to the entity, or does it give him a strange advantage?
See, when you ask that, I immediately think back to the pandemic and this sort of series of memes that were going around and saying, sort of showing, the baby boomers and how they're dealing with the pandemic, and then Gen Z and how they're dealing with the pandemic. And then they showed my generation, which is
Are we
Gen
about to
X.
do some Gen X bonding here? What's about to happen?
Well, right. Well, how they, it's sort of, I remember the meme was something along the lines of, Gen X, like, we're the latchkey generation. We
Hell
got
yeah.
this.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. You
you
can leave
know,
us unattended. It's fine. We're good.
exactly. We can be isolated for weeks at a time and
Uh,
we will entertain ourselves. So
yeah.
I guess along those lines, maybe John is, and he is a little bit more prepared because he is isolated, right? With his partner having left, and he's really adapted to being trapped in his home for really over. I think I made it over a year. He hadn't left his home, not even to go out into the front yard where he has groceries delivered and he has streaming services and he sleeps when he wants to sleep and he has his finances all figured out. And so um, what is a storm going to do? Even if the plow didn't come and plow him out, the only sort of blip on the radar there would be, oh, well, he doesn't get his, Amazon delivery on time,
uh,
and so I think he is more prepared.
well, the title Eminence Front points to social fronts and self myth making. What's the most common lie people tell themselves in the world of this book, and why that lie?
So, and this is actually will tie into how I even got this title. So in the book, there's that character Steve, and he's just a big fan of the Who. And am I a big fan of the Who? Not a huge fan. It happened. I just happened to pick that band because, quite frankly, I had Pinball Wizard in my head as an earworm, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to listen to it, get it out of my head, and then I just sort of went down this wormhole of all the different Who albums, and I thought, now that I have all of this useless information about the Who in my head, this is what I'm going to give to Steve. This is going to be Steve's band and his thing because he likes to kind of listen to albums and groove out. And Eminence Front wasn't even in. It's not even my favorite song by the Who. My favorite song by them is "You Better You Bet." I love that song, but I happened to just be playing all of their pieces, and Eminence Front came on, and I was listening to the lyrics, and I thought, this is what, for me, the book is about. And for me, the book has nothing to do with like a snow entity. For me, the book is about people being very accusatory and judgmental, especially in today's day and age online, and being very quick to sort of say, this person should be acting differently and this person, but not turning that that glass onto themselves and sort of look at what faults they have.
You spot
And
it, you got it.
yeah, right. So all of these neighbors in some degree are doing that. whether it's they are judging the other neighbors on that street, they're judging their coworkers, they're judging. Jackie happens to be a writer, judging other writers or judging what her agent wants her to do. And not all of them kind of have like a come to Jesus moment. There are very few of them that actually realize, like, God, you know what? I'm not a really great person myself. But a few do. And Eminence Front, Pete Townsend wrote, I'm sorry, everyone knows this story. So he wrote it after sort of realizing he had been caught up in this drug fueled party atmosphere for, so long.
I looked up this Eminence Front by The Who, Pete Townsend's midlife crisis.
Yeah. Well, it really, and they frame it that way, but it's actually a really positive story. Like, he really sort of took a really long look in the mirror and said, what the hell am I doing? Like, I can't be like shoving all these drugs in my system, and then sort of looked around at the people that he was spending all of this time with. And the song is about not accepting the ugly parts of our own personalities and really kind of covering it up with either just a false moral, high ground, or just sort of drowning it in addiction and money and excursions and things that aren't healthy. And that's what all of these characters are doing. And that's what really the story is about. It's about this, we can't keep hiding. At some point, we'll just be miserable if we constantly are looking at other people's lives and saying, this is what they need to fix, without kind of getting our own houses in order, So Eminence Front, I gotta be honest, after a while I started to hate the song because I didn't even want to hear it in my head anymore. But Pete Townsend does a really good job with that song. And
I like the name. The name's got, it's just got like real, it's rounded, but it's got sharp edges. Eminence Front, it's like the way it sounds. And, as far as him doing drugs, money, whatever else he got into, it's like Jung said, you've got to integrate with the shadow, not immerse yourself in it. So he should have written horror.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Written horror, done a podcast about horror, one of the two.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, when characters hear something in the storm, like voices, whispers, implications even, how did you decide what the, quote, voice sounds like on the page? Whether it be temptation, accusation, logic, comfort?
In my head, I guess it...
Oh my God, you were hearing the whispers?
Because what I was sort of imagining they were hearing... It was sort of a combination of, it was a little bit of, I was a huge Lost fan. I don't know if you watched the show Lost.
I know
at all.
Yeah.
So on it, they, like sort of one of the latter seasons, there are characters when they're walking through the island will hear these whispers, in the literal like whispers, people whispering in the trees. And they explain what those whispers are sort of by the end of the show, but it was always sort of an unsettling sound where you couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but it was something, and it was something that would almost like a Pied Piper kind of drawing people towards it. And so I wanted it to be something along those lines, but something pleasing to the individual person. Like for Steve, it sounds like the beginning of, like a Who song, like one of the synthesizers in the beginning. For him, it kind of sounds like music that he enjoys. And so he will kind of lean into it. But for other people, it's more like oh, do you hear something? And you sort of, get closer and closer and sort of bend down and listen to try to figure out where it's coming from. And then almost question your own sanity, like, God, what am I now? I'm hearing things. But by that point, it's already sort of infiltrated. Once you let the rules of sort of the story are that once you let the whisper in, there's no getting it out. So if a character is able to keep their ears covered or be hearing impaired, they actually may not be infected.
What about if they just they don't listen, like they don't actively listen and take it in?
There is sort of one character.
You don't have to give away any spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Two of the characters, you don't even realize that they just happen to take their head coverings off, and the snow is there, like the storm is there, and it's all around them, and that's what happens. Whereas others, they're actually like, oh, is someone calling from around the corner, or is where's the sound coming from, and they really lean into it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the subtle whispers, like just imagining that is, that would just drive you insane. I met a woman one time that was schizophrenic, and she had real bad auditory hallucinations. And so unmedicated, they were loud. They were telling her to do horrible things. Mm-hmm. And so she'd take medicine, but she's like, the medicine doesn't get rid of them. It just dials the volume down into like this faint whisper. So it's still, and she's like, sometimes I don't know which is worse.
Right. Because you almost wonder, unless you can sort of pretend or it becomes sort of background noise, it almost feels like it would be worse. That's awful. My feeling with schizophrenia is it's one of the most horrible psychological ailments. And because it usually strikes people in their 20s, usually.
Yeah, so comes on. Young adulthood, just a weird, like, rap, like 24, something like that.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry. I think, well, we here at the Dark Mind Podcast are not doctors, and we do not dispense medical advice or give medical facts, but I feel like I remember something between 17 to 24.
Yeah. It's like college age.
Yeah.
My bachelor's degree is a double degree in psychology and English, and neither of which you can do anything with a bachelor's degree. So I was like, wow, if I'm going to get a degree that does not prepare me for the workforce, I'm going to really lean into it and go with two. So my senior year of college, I'm like, wow, I obviously have to go to grad school, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to write, but I didn't really like journalism, and I was so close to going for psychology. Specifically, I wanted to do research in with schizophrenia, because I do find it to be a disorder that is just it's so sad, because the medication too, even today, the medications are often the side effects are so bothersome that
very sedating.
Sufferers, would almost rather have the delusions and the hallucinations because they feel something. They don't feel sort of zombified, and it's just very sad. But I ended up going for English. I don't know. I guess I really want to. I was like, wow, you still can't really do anything with a master's in English either. So I don't know what I was thinking, but it all worked out. Now I'm a teacher, and I love it. So.
Well, I think you've already answered the next question. Well, no, actually, no, you didn't. This is still relevant. Did the experience of caring for someone with dementia, as in the case of Rose being taken care of, and I can't remember what her daughter's name is.
Carol.
Yeah. Rose being taken care of by Carol, does that change the view of the idea of being present in a horror situation?
As far as suffering from the dementia,
Well, no,
the
like
person.
the experience of caring with someone for dementia, like you're already, first of all, you're a caretaker. And then on top of that, you're dealing with someone that you can't really say for sure whether they're coherent at the moment. You know, they might be telling you something that's a complete confabulation, or they may be in the right mind momentarily about something. So you're constantly in and out with that. And as far as being present when there's horror lurking, does it change the idea of what it's like to actually deal with that and be present with it when in your normal everyday situation, it's kind of that your perceptual framework is just off kilter.
Yeah. So yes to everything there. So there's a lot of reasons why I had Rose suffer from dementia. The first reason is because I have a few friends who are taking care of their parents. And I mean, you and I are at this age now where that's now that's the transition. Now it becomes a taking care of older relatives, rather than taking care of children. And so I have friends who are taking care of their parents who suffer from dementia, at various stages. But I really wanted her there as a Cassandra character. I'm a big fan of the character in literature who actually knows what's going on, is very aware of, has already figured out the game, but is not believed by the other characters. And so they're there, they're warning the other characters, or they know how to avoid the danger, but the other characters, for whatever reason, don't take that Cassandra character seriously, and it becomes their downfall. And she does, in a way, try to warn her daughter. The fact that she is wandering in the middle of the night to this shed where later on, she seems to think that's where the entity is hiding during the storm before it infects another person. But she sort of is, she's quoting the Robert Frost poem about desert places, and how, the smothering and taking someone unaware. But her daughter doesn't take her seriously. Her daughter is thinking, oh no, this is all part of the dementia, where it's not. And as a matter of fact, with the exception of the flat out wandering, or sort of, finding her mother asleep in the corner of the yard in the middle of the night. Besides that, if you reread the story knowing sort of what is going to hit this neighborhood, it almost feels like Rose is the most coherent and clear-headed person in the story, ironically. And the other layer is, I think that taking care of someone with Alzheimer's, with any sort of dementia, someone that you love, it's so terrifying, because you are seeing them slip away, and it's scary. It's scary to see bits and pieces of someone sort of just fade away. So I guess adding that extra layer, I wanted to put that there for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister in law's father had early onset, 58 years old.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
Well, you explore, quote, betrayal trauma extensively in this book. Why do you think betrayal scares us on a deeper, more primal level than simple physical violence?
Yeah. You know what? I do that in all my books, and it really wasn't something I was even aware of until the audiobook narrator for White Trash, someone who I've become good friends with now, Jen Lee. She, when she was first recording White Trash, she sort of pointed out let's just say that she had my baggage tagged definitely, because she said, listen, here's what's going on. I'm seeing you're talking about this a lot. You're talking about this a lot. And I'm like, I do. And then I really had to sort of look at
Were you on a
body of work in
couch?
general.
Like, was she
It felt very,
psychoanalyzing you?
I was like, I mean, this is a lovely breakthrough. I'm like, well, like, apparently I'm working through some stuff in my books, but betrayal trauma for me, I think, is betrayal in general is awful because it involves trusting someone, but also taking what you believe to be reality. And if someone betrays that, it sort of pulls that rug out from under you. And for me, I think that that's frightening. You want to be able to have your people. You want to be able to have um, someone who you feel like, is your ride or die. And then to sort of discover that they aren't who they've purported to be, it just, everything, that you sort of think is true and real, just crumbles. And I think that's scary. I am more frightened of losing control of my mind and not understanding what reality is than, of vampires or things hiding under my bed or in my closet or whatever. I think that what we want and cherish and value in our everyday lives, that disappearing or not being what it seems like it is scary. It's scarier. So yeah, I think that that's why it pops up in horror all the time. You could shut the door to not invite a vampire in, right? Or, just rationalize the fact that they don't exist in real life. But to have someone take your trust and betray you is a very real possibility. And we can't go through life not letting people in, so yeah, that might be why. Jen did not help me sort that out, but I think, yeah, she did at least make me aware of it. And I do notice it more often now that you're saying that in a lot of people's speculative fiction these days. And I don't know. I don't know if we're just all a little bit, getting well adjusted and we're kind of this is how we're working things. I don't know. We're working things out in our fiction, maybe. Could be.
Yeah, there's like this loss of emotional investment that you've put in, if it's like a relationship. There's also, whether or not you should feel humiliated, you do, you feel like, oh, I've been walking around just like a fool because like somebody knew. And, of course, I'm just talking about one particular type of betrayal, obviously, but there are psychic vampires.
There
those
are.
people that suck the life out of you.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of What We Do in the Shadows. And I don't know if you've seen that the television show version. So there are the actual, vampires. And then one of their roommates is an emotional vampire.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how he kills his victims, is just by boring them to death or putting them to sleep with terrible stories. Yeah, he's for sure the best character on that show. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know that as authors, maybe we seem like we don't have a lot of faith in humanity, but I really do. But I'm also a realist in that I know that there are not necessarily mean people out there, but people who have their own shit that they need to take care of, and they are not taking care of it, and instead they're maybe putting it on other people, and they don't mean to be treat other people poorly, but this is their only survival tactic, and that's too bad. That's too bad, because I do believe I do believe in my heart that most people are good people.
But you write horror, so anybody in the
I
book's going to be bad.
And yet I don't think I have a true villain on that street. I think that they're
Well, just not pure as the driven snow. Oh, look, I made a
correct.
pun.
Woo!
uh,
But no one is all good and no, and all, or all bad, you know? I think and and yeah, there are some people doing some pretty terrible things on that street, but they're also good people and they're redeemable. Well, they would be if, you know, if they survive, I
under
guess.
different circumstances.
Right, right.
What was it you
Yeah.
told me at the Texas AuthorCon when I told you that I got an arc of Eminence Front? You were like, just please don't be like, and like you told me a large swath of people that had read the book were saying something about what was it?
Oh, oh God, what's the biggest complaint that I heard right at the
They're like, it's a
beginning?
great book, but they're like, God damn it, why'd you do this? And I can't remember what you told me.
Oh, they okay. So the ending is not a neat, clean, clear, like very, nicely tied up ending. And I did, in fact, there was someone had shown me a review, I think last month, where someone was like, I don't even like the order of the last chapters. I feel like they need to be in a different order. And I'm like, listen, I can't I just can't, like, this is what it is.
Uh-huh.
I myself don't like a very neatly tied package ending with novels. I kind of like that sometimes there are things left open for interpretation, and so I tried to do that, but people were
Sometimes
not.
art. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, tell. Sometimes art.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say sometimes art is abstract. I mean,
You're right.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not writing like Bizarro,
yeah,
you're not like, wow, am I missing a page here? I mean, it's not to that extreme, but
yeah.
I wanted to leave it open, and I wanted, because I don't know, I like reading things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of people getting onto you because they didn't think it was technically clean enough, I'm going to ask you a very technical question. How do you write snow as a sensory tool, not just as a visual, but as something that muffles sound and alters the psychology of space?
Oh,
Get out a ruler and compass. No, I'm just
yes.
playing.
Let me tell you. So I am a crazy researcher. So when I write anything, short stories, a nonfiction piece, a novel, I spend the first, I would say, quarter, the total amount of time it takes me to write anything, a quarter of that time is spent researching and just reading everything I can about the topic. And so with with snow, despite having lived here my whole life, I had no idea what the science of snow was, any of it. And so I spent, uh, weeks looking at not only real news accounts of things that happened during blizzards in the United States, which a lot of the kind of anecdotes here and there that are in the book are, some of them are based very, or really do follow some of the real events that happened in some of history's blizzards here. But the science of snow and how, what it does to sound and what it can do if there's bacteria growing on it, or if it's the different snow and what it looks like in different parts of the world. And the more I learned about it, the more unsettled I got, and how it really is. It can, a blanket of snow is really very much like a fun house in what it does to sound, what it does to reflect light. It's scary. Nature is scary, man.
Yeah.
So as far as, there was very little that I I don't think I focused much on the look of the snow. It was more on just it sort of the idea of it piling up, the wind, and how it can during the squalls it could blind people, and you can't really see for some, if, and also if someone's driving on it, and this idea of losing control of your vehicle, and then also becoming buried. So I don't even, is that what you're asking?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really. I guess technically I didn't really realize what I was asking until you started telling me about the science of it. But I was looking up. Apparently, much like the black things you see hanging behind me to absorb sound, fresh, fluffy snow acts like a natural sound absorber,
Right.
creating a muffled environment, much like studio foam. However, melting or icy snow reflects sound, making it seem louder or sharper.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It depends on if it has that sort of crust, which I used to know the name of when I was writing the book, but I guess that didn't stay. Right. And so if it becomes that hard, almost like reflecting, right? Like when you're yelling in a cave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see. I was looking for the crust reference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the name for it though.
I have to pat myself on the back because I read an excerpt of the book at Evil Embers, which was like a mini convention that happened at the end of June last year in Pennsylvania. And the excerpt happened to be the piece that's the puppet show, where it sort of goes over what snow is. And afterwards, a woman who had come to the convention came up to me and said, I'm a middle school science teacher, and you got all of that completely correct. That actually, it made me feel really good. She's like, I was really impressed. You have all this vocabulary that I teach my students. And I was like, yay me that I have this piece of science knowledge now. So yeah.
Is it weird that I want a snow cone right now?
Well, I mean, you and I were talking about the temperatures near you.
Yeah, me, it makes sense. You, no.
Yeah, not so much.
A snow cone might kill you right now.
Yeah. Oof. Oof.
Well, at the risk of inducing any spoilers, I will move on, but it is a great book. Listeners at home, read it, buy it, review it, don't spoil it, and just be okay with the somewhat ambiguous ending.
Please.
It's art is sometimes abstract.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you about one of your other works that I'm pretty sure I didn't ask you about last time. The catchy name, by the way, Shagging the Boss.
Yes. Oh, I love that book so much. So yeah, please ask away, because I loved writing that book, and working with Filthy Loot Press. They put it out.
So it's darker. It's kind of satirical from what I understand, based on the corporate experience. Now, is it based on your personal experience or just research or somebody you know?
So a little bit. I worked in publishing briefly, and I'm certainly, I don't want to imply that the people that I worked for were like vampire boogeymen or anything like that, but just my experience with some people in publishing and some clients that were hiring ghostwriters. That experience, I did find it to be very vampiric on their part, and so in the sense of yes. So the narrator is an unnamed narrator who is sort of fresh out of graduate school with a master's in English that she can't get really any other job. So it's a little bit based on my experience. and sort of falls into getting this entry level job at a publishing company in Boston, and goes in sort of as the ingenue and like, oh, this is going to be great, and then sort of realizes the dark aspects of any company that deals with creativity. I imagine that this for sure happens. These types of things happen in the art world or drama or music, and there are always going to be corporate people who are going to feed off of people with artistic ability, and also people who are just going to drain the life out of others. And I'd gotten the idea because I was researching a book on boogeymen around the world, and I came upon the Yaramayahu, which is an Aboriginal boogeyman who swallows, right? It sort of like hides in the trees. And if a victim walks by, the Yaramayahu will jump on them, swallow them, um, and then vomit the victim back up. And if the victim doesn't run away right away, the Yaramayahu will then swallow it again and continue to swallow and regurgitate its victim. But every single time it's swallowed by the Yaramayahu, the victim retains a little bit of that boogeyman nature until after a couple of swallows, he or she ends up becoming a Yaramayahu himself. And it's this kind of weird way of like how vampires make more vampires, but also this idea of consuming someone and then, sort of throwing it back up for your own advantage. And I wanted to use that as this really twisted way of looking at the publishing world. But yeah, I had a lot of fun reading reading that book, and but I do want to stress, like, that was not my experience working for the company that I worked for. They were very kind to me. So, but I think that anyone who works in this business encountered, a vampire or a boogeyman or two, which is, it's sad, but it is, like I said, it's, people have things they need to work through, I think.
Yeah. So that includes, like, people want complete creative control and usually they don't get it. Is that part of it? How do you get to be one of those people? Like, Quentin Tarantino somehow just got to the point where they're like, yeah, do what you do. What's it like to be that person?
Yeah. To have complete creative control. I mean, that's,
and how do you get it?
but I have to tell you, I think, in fact, I just wrote a nonfiction essay on the difference between hybrid vanity publishers and self-publishing, and sort of the pros and cons and the scams to watch out for. And I think one of the pieces of advice that I give for people who want to go into just self-publishing is don't be the person who doesn't hire an outside editor, because we all need, I don't care if you are the greatest writer in the universe, you need to have a second set of eyes on things. And I think giving someone complete creative control without having someone that could step back and say, listen, I'm seeing the forest for the trees and you're not, and maybe consider this or maybe consider that. That can be dangerous. I think it's nice. It's nice to be able to have more say in what your product is going to be. But I think at least in this industry, I don't think our creative juices are squashed too much by traditional publishers. I think a good publisher is going to trust their writer, is going to encourage them to take risks, and is going to believe in the writer's vision, but also the writer needs to let go of, they can't, you can't fight over every single comma or every single, centimeter of a margin measurement, right? There's some things that you have to pick and choose your battles, I think, and think about what is really important to you in your final product, and also work with presses that you trust. You trust their vision. They're not phoning it in, and that they care about what they're putting out in the world. So, but yeah, I don't know. Quentin Tarantino seems to be putting out some pretty good stuff. So good for him.
Well, yeah, and it's like that's kind of what I was referring to, was like the anomalies, because there's a writer I had on the show, T.R. Napper. I read this article of his, which I thought was really cool. It was like the top 10 pieces of advice from the masters you shouldn't take. And he was just explaining, he was like, it was like the first one was how Stephen King in On Writing says that keeping a writer's notebook is a great way to collect a bunch of dumb ideas or something like that. And he's like, dude, you are not Stephen King. That man his brain never stops. He can,
right.
If he forgets one thing, 6 ideas will replace it. You've got to, if something good comes, write that shit down. So that's what
Absolutely.
it was. It's like, it's like these people are anomalies. They cannot give advice to, mortals.
But you know what? And I would also hazard to guess, not that Stephen King isn't watching this show, Vince, because I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's listening to the show. But I would hazard a guess that Stephen King is probably full of shit when he says that, because I think that when he was at least when he was first starting out, he was making notes here and there, because he's not, I mean, come on, especially let's all be honest here. During the cocaine years, I mean, he had to be writing things down, because that's, otherwise, God only, where is it going? All those synapses are just eating all those ideas up otherwise. So
I'm sure he had piles of paper, reams of paper.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Why are you grinding your teeth? Stop that.
Exactly.
Chew some gum.
That would be something to read. Sort of the lost papers of Stephen King's kind of his addiction.
The gacked out ramblings of Stephen King.
Yes.
Probably that's probably where he got that scene in The Shining from. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah.
Well, let's see here. You also had another, and Shagging the Boss was 82 pages, so that's like novella territory?
Yeah, it was like, I want to say it was even like a novelette. I want to say, probably 15,000 words. Yeah.
Now, Pieces was kind of based on, it was kind of like a true, I mean, it wasn't based on a real crime, but in that vein of like a true crime thriller. So did working on that change how you viewed the audience's relationship with true crime? Do we thrill to it as entertainment, or does it fulfill a darker need? And yes, we can talk about the Ladybird Lake thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to, I got to be honest. I will listen to podcasts as I'm cleaning, as I'm driving. So I ended up starting to be a fan of a true crime podcast in the last 6 months. It actually wasn't something I normally was into, except I had heard that the host of the podcast that I liked listening to, that had nothing to do with crime or horror or anything, also was on a true crime podcast. And I really just liked his personality. So I thought, I'm going to see what this podcast is about. And I started to almost binge listen to true crime podcast episode after episode after episode, just cleaning my house. And I did start to ask myself that question, like, why am I listening to this? It's especially because, at least with horror, we can look at it as this is fiction. This is not true. It's not true. It's something we're going to use our imaginations with. Whereas true crime, there are real victims. There are real families that are affected. It's real horror. And why do I find it so fascinating? And why do people find it so fascinating? And one of the episodes that I heard, a woman made a really interesting comment. And she said that it's not necessarily that we are so morbidly fascinated by it, but instead that she feels that especially women perhaps listen or watch a lot of true crime because it almost schools us on what we need to be aware
to watch out
of.
for. Yeah,
exactly. And in fact, this one of the podcast gives tips here and there. And here's one tip that I'll pass on. If you are a woman living by yourself, buy a pair of very big men's boots, scuff them up, and put them outside your door as if the person living in your home owns the boots. And it will not necessarily automatically, sort of, this will be the ultimate repellent for anyone breaking into your home, but it does make someone think twice.
Yeah.
Or, even if you don't have a dog, put various large dog things right around your porch so that it does appear that there's something scary in your home. I wish the world were a less scary place where we don't have to start thinking about things like that. But I think with true crime, that is one of the attractions. Pieces, however, it was just creepy, sadistic fun on my writing partner, Michael Aloisi, and I, on our part. It was like, oh, how gruesome can we get with this body part and this body part? And for me, writing Pieces, he and I broke up the narrative in the sense that he wrote the chapters of the journalist who's sort of trying to track down the serial killer. And I wrote the chapters with the serial killer. And in order to write those chapters, I really had to get into his head. And some of it was I remember writing it, bringing it to Michael and saying, like, I don't even know if I can, I'm a little embarrassed that I came up with this really disturbing thing. And he's like, no, you can't think that way. Like, this feels like it reads really true. This feels like this would be something this kind of sadistic, horrible, monstrous person would do or fantasize about or, have in his background, and just go with it. But it was, there were a couple of times where I was writing something and I did think like, ugh, like I just feel dirty. I don't feel clean. I don't feel clean. And it was kind of nice when I wasn't writing his voice because it felt less heavy. It felt nicer to just be me and not, someone who's a sociopath. But it was a fun book to write. As sick as that sounds, we had a really good time writing it. And so thank you for reading that. That's kind of like that's an old track to put on the record player. I like that. So thank you for bringing that one up.
Now, I was about to say, do you know those people? I don't mean to other somebody, but I guess I'm going to say those people. Do you know any of those people that are true crime junkies, but they're terrified to watch horror?
Yes.
Like, why?
Well, you know what? And I think this makes more sense. One of my closest friends, and she's the only person in my life that has bought every single thing I have ever written, ever. She is the most wonderful, wonderful supporter. She watches so much horror, and the gorier and scarier, the better. But she won't watch serial killer things or anything like home invasion horror.
Well, that makes sense though,
or
because those
it
things
can really
happen.
Yeah.
But I've met people that are true crime junkies, and they're like, oh, so I just automatically assume they like horror. So I'm like, oh, did you see the latest? Oh no, I don't. Oh, I can't do horror.
I wonder why. Because
I don't know.
I think some of the true crime is much scarier than horror for sure.
I mean, even if it isn't spookier, it's at least the fact that it's real,
Yeah, and that there are human beings that are doing these kind of depraved, horrific things. The Ed Gein monster series that just came out, that previously had been the Jeffrey Dahmer and the Menendez brothers, that sort of the Ryan Murphy monster series.
Oh, that's Ryan Murphy doing that?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I teach high school students, and when the Dahmer series came out, I found the kids, first of all, they didn't know who Jeffrey Dahmer was because they're much younger. They weren't around when he was around. He was so they were born long after he had been died, but they found him so fascinating in this really twisted way that I can even remember a kid saying like, oh yeah, did you know that they have Halloween costumes that are Jeffrey Dahmer? I'm like, what? That feels like a line that we shouldn't be crossing.
Well, and it's like younger girls saying, oh yeah, he's kind of a hottie. Like, what?
And they did sort of make him, I mean, it was Evan Peters, right? They put him in the role, and
well, I'm sure the guy that played him was attractive, but I think they were referring to the actual guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, kind of like the now his name just escaped me. Who was Ted Bundy?
Ted Bundy.
Right?
Oh yeah, they got Zac Efron to play him.
Right. Well, I guess in the 70s, Ted Bundy was like I've looked at pictures of him. He's not my type, but I guess I can see how people might find him attractive.
Let's see here. Ted Bundy. It was the 70s, you said?
70s, because didn't they put him to death in the early 80s?
Yeah, it's usually like an average of 10 years on death row, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So,
there he is.
So, yeah, I mean, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah, not
so much there, maybe. Let's see. There you go.
Yeah.
Let me get this.
Yeah. And he was a lawyer.
Was he a lawyer, or did he defended himself pro se? Was he an actual lawyer?
He was a lawyer, because I know that Anne Rule, the true crime writer, got her start because she worked for a nonprofit that ironically was helping survivors of abuse, women who were survivors, and Ted Bundy was one of the volunteers. I think he was doing pro bono work to help these women. But then she wrote, when he was caught, she ended up writing her first true crime book, because it was about her. I think it's called like The Killer Next to Me, The Killer Beside Me, The Killer in My Workplace. I don't know. It's something along those lines. And that's where she got her start, sort of writing true crime books. Anne Rule. So I believe he was a lawyer.
No. Ted Bundy was not a lawyer. He was a former law student who never completed his degree or passed the bar exam.
Lazy.
Bundy, he did attend law school at the University of Puget Sound and then University of Utah in the mid-1970s, but dropped out due to poor grades and his escalating criminal activities. It's like, are
Yeah.
you on drugs? Oh, you have no idea.
It's like, yeah, I just couldn't do that paper, man, because I was like, pretending to have a
Torturing
broken
somebody.
arm. Yeah,
Yeah.
throwing women in my Volkswagen Bug.
Uh-huh.
So,
So you already mentioned it earlier, but you do extensive research for your work. I think I remember you saying about a quarter of anything you write is research. So what's the most disturbing research rabbit hole you've fallen into that actually changed how you see the world in some way?
oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, because it's really it's every even short stories. Oh, you know what? I can think of an example. So I have a short story. It'll be coming out. This is my weird shameless plug that I didn't mean to just slip this in, but it'll be coming out in my third
Well, you are
short
on a
fiction
podcast.
collection.
I mean, if there's any time to do it.
I'm just gonna sort of wiggle this in. I have my third short fiction collection comes out in June, and the short stories in it, and it's the story. It's the title of the story is Wolf Like Me, and it's based on. So I'm in Massachusetts. We obviously have the huge Boston Catholic priest scandal that was featured like in the movie Spotlight with the Catholic priest that had been moved from place to place and had been abusing children and so on and so forth. And one of the most famous cases in Massachusetts is the case of Father John Gagan. So John Gagan was found guilty on 2 counts, even though apparently he had molested more than 80 children, and but they could only sort of pin him down on these 2 counts. And he went to prison here in Massachusetts and did not last very long in prison because another prisoner killed him in prison, kind of like what happened to Jeffrey Dahmer, right? And I wanted to write something from the perspective of the prisoner that killed Father Gagan. And because there was just something about this idea of, should we feel badly about that? And also looking into the background of that person, I,
The priest or the
the
killer?
other one, the one who killed, and I'm trying to even think
Oh,
of his name. It's something with, it's William. His last name began with a D, and it's going to bother me because I ended up changing names, obviously.
what was the father's name? Father
Gagan. So Geo, Father Gagan, Boston. He's everywhere in the news if you look him up.
Joseph Druce.
Druce, yes.
Yeah.
So looking into his background, so I read extensively on his case. He the kinds of things that he had done were really disturbing to the point where it really did make me sort of think, how is the right way to feel um, about this? Because Father Gagan obviously was a monster. He was a monster, and he preyed upon children and did so for decades and decades and decades. But Druce, he had killed a man, if I remember correctly, when he was hitchhiking. The man that picked him up, he decided to just kill him. And his argument was like a gay panic, where he felt that the man who picked him up in the car was making a pass at him, and so he felt justified killing this man. And then, while in prison, had been mailing threats, trying to send. It was during the anthrax scare where we had like those anthrax
Oh yeah,
letters
the
going to people.
yeah.
So he was trying to do that, pull that off as well, but was also an anti-Semite, was sort of targeting. So the more I read about him, the more I thought, this guy is as much of a monster as Gagan is. And so now, how do I feel about this guy who already was going to be in prison for the rest of his life? We don't have the death penalty in Massachusetts. And so If you're found guilty of murder one, you're in prison for life. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. But there is no sort of step above that. So if you commit murder, I guess, in prison, it's just like, well, we're going to throw another life sentence onto your sentence in case you become weirdly immortal and have multiple lives. I don't even know how that works, but
I guess if you're eligible for parole at some point with one life sentence, you can't get it.
Right. But you're just never eligible for parole with murder one here. So it was just doing the research and then thinking about, should people feel happy that he did this? And he killed Father Gagan in a pretty brutal way that I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that his victims might think, you know what? I'm glad that he was killed in this awful way. And I hope that he felt a lot of pain. And I would completely understand them feeling that way. But then I think, so now are we making, this Bruce guy a hero? Despite him being such a horrible, horrible person, So.
Well, see, here's the thing I question is I'm sure a lot of people, put him on a pedestal because he killed this horrible pedophile, but were his actions purely driven by pure motives? Because I often wonder, what's elevated to the lowest level of pond scum? It's like pedophiles, rapists, stuff like that. I sometimes wonder if the majority of the guys that kill these people, do they even really care? Or do they just think, hey, I can do something horrible and nobody will care?
Yeah, or I'm going to feel, I can say I'm justified, or people will think I'm justified in doing this.
And really all they want to do is something horrible. They're just directing it somewhere where they're not going to get quite as much heat.
Correct. And it does. And this guy, from the research that I did, it really did give that feeling. But I just didn't know how to feel. I remember because when Father Gagan was killed, having lived in the Boston area for such a long time, and I'd been brought up Catholic, I taught in the Catholic school, and there were other priests, right, in the area in Massachusetts who were also found guilty and defrocked or sent to jail or sent to rehabilitation during this whole period, where I think it made me so angry. It made me so angry that these men had done these things, and it made me angry for a lot of reasons. It also made me angry for the good priests. I'm an ex-Catholic. In fact, I always say, don't tell them where I am, don't let them put me back. But I also know that there are some very good priests, and I think that they were automatically lumped in as being part of this pedophile ring, and so there's that. And then all of these children, all of these families that trusted their church and trusted their priests, and just what the church did, and shuffling these priests around and covering for them. But then when Father Gagan was killed, I thought, in my head, when it happened on the news, I thought, good riddance. Good riddance. I hope it hurt. But then doing the research, I don't know how I feel about it. And
well, can't you feel both ways? Like, good riddance, but I'm not going to put this guy on a pedestal because he probably did it for unsound reasons.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And again, and I'm sure this happens all the time, where people are, maimed, hurt in prison, killed in prison. And I don't know. I think it's very gray. I don't think it's ever really black and white, but that is definitely a time where doing the research, it really made me think. And I think I got a good short story out of it. So there's my plug. There's my plug for that for June. if nothing else.
Well, since we last spoke, have there been any life-changing events, any big happenings, book optionings, anything like that?
No,
No?
I wish I could say so. No, I do have a book out on sub right now, and hopefully it'll get picked up. I'm looking forward to StokerCon this year. This will be the first StokerCon in 2 years where I don't need to do anything. Last StokerCon, I had the awesome opportunity to be the guest of honor liaison. And so I got to spend time with, Paula Baran and Tim Wagner and, Adam Neville, and my personal writing, like, role model, Joyce Carol Oates, I get to spend time with. That was,
I forgot about that.
Oh, it was so cool. It was just, and I was really nervous because I thought, if I
did
meet
you
her,
fangirl out?
I did, but I was nervous that she was going to be like a jerk, or she was going to be dismissive, or she was going to be
never meet your heroes.
Exactly, she was going to be unpleasant. She was not. She was lovely. She was funny. She showed me pictures of her cat. We talked about cats. She was very down to earth, and it was just a lovely experience. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I got to meet her. And I'm so glad I got to meet all of the guests of honor. They were just, all of them were lovely and interesting. And even though it was so much work, just coordinating everything, working with them was the best part of the job for sure. But this year I don't have to do anything. I can just go and enjoy StokerCon. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Dallas Horror Lit Fest. You and I were just talking about this, and I don't think that's even the name of it. Texas Horror Lit Fest.
For the gathering formerly known as Texas AuthorCon.
Correct. Yes, it is at the end of June. So anyone who's listening, who's in the Texas area, please think about coming. You'll see both me and Vince there roaming about. So no, I'm looking forward to a lot of conventions. I'm doing a lot of touring this year, so a lot of traveling. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that's it's normally in July, but at the end of June, that's actually my birthday is right around then. So,
well,
excuse for a road trip. And I've been just scrolling trying to find that picture of you and Joyce Carol Oates, but like a needle in a haystack.
I think it's on my Instagram.
That's what I'm scrolling through, but I've probably missed it because my attention span is just garbage.
No, but it was really cool. It was just really cool.
Well, all right. Well, Rebecca, it has been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for having me on again. I always love talking to you about stuff.
Oh yeah, I always love having you on. Well, as we bring the show to a close, I mean, you were talking about some stuff earlier, but is there anything you'd like to plug that you did not, or some things you want to reiterate?
Yes. Please come and see me. I'm going to be a lot of places this year, starting with Twisted Spine in Brooklyn. I'll be there on January 15th. I will be at Dark Drafts Festival in Mountjoy, Pennsylvania, 2 weeks after that. I'll be at Boscone in Boston for Valentine's Day weekend. I'll be at Barnes & Noble Enfield with 4 other New England horror writers who are all women. And the 5 of us are gonna be signing and doing a panel there. But my whole tour schedule is on my website, which is just rowlandbooks.com. Please come. I hate sitting at a table, and I have trouble sort of sitting still. And so please come and distract me. And ask me a question that I don't really answer, and just sort of continue to talk about something else and go on a completely different tangent. And it'll be fun for everyone. But yeah, so please come see me, pick up Eminence Front. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, do it, people. Listeners at home, all links are in the description. And Rebecca, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Vince.
And thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday for a new episode featuring the best and brightest authors and filmmakers of dark literature and film. So until then, stay healthy, stay sane, and as always, thank you for listening. See you next time.